It's the midway point of college football, and it's that time of year to take a look at what prospects have rose to the cream of the crop, and we're going to be taking a look at the quarterback class today. What's crack-a-lack? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a watch-along of the Penn State and Michigan game, so hopefully you can join me there. It's going to be a ton of fun. Quick disclaimer, I've looked at 31 prospects in this quarterback class thus far, and I've deemed 4 of them will probably be returned to school, with the 4 being Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, Cameron Ward from Washington State, which he seems still a bit raw, Jalon Daniels from Kansas, who unfortunately went down with the shoulder injury this season. He won't be playing for the rest of the year. And Spencer Rattler, who's just a mixed bag at this point. But let's go ahead. Let's go over my top 10, starting with Devin Leary from NC State. Unfortunately, Devin Leary will be out. At least he was out last game. He got hurt. Don't know his status going into this week, but we'll find out more, obviously, with the games tomorrow. But he was formerly a 4-star recruit from the 2018 class. He redshirted the 2018 season, and then he came off the bench in 2019 versus Boston College. After that, he split time as a starter until grabbing the full-time role in 2020 versus Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, he did suffer a fractured fibia in Week 7 against Duke, but he would reprise that role, that starter role, in 2021, where he did beat Clemson, ranked 9 Clemson. He was a starter this season until getting banged up. And let's talk about thus far what we've seen from Devin Leary, because it's been a bit of a mixed bag when it came to him. Now, dude, for all intents and purposes, he's a rhythm passer who plays with very good anticipation. He shows good accuracy and can throw with some serious velocity. He plays with a good timer in his head, and he knows when to get out of dodge. Basically, when pressure comes, when to evade the pocket. Now, he has deceptive speed, but I won't say that this is a guy that's going to be consistently getting yards with his feet. And you definitely see the pre-snap recognition, and he's more than willing to change the play at the line. Now, his height could be an issue for some teams. Again, like you get in that 6'1", 6 foot area, that's gonna be a flag for teams. But it's not the end all be all, obviously. But when you're inconsistent over the middle of the field, it is. It's like, are you having trouble seeing over your offense or your offensive line and really locating the guys over the top or guys underneath? He needs to learn to throw with a bit more touch on his passes. His deep ball, sometimes it'll just hang for too long, and while underneath, he can also put a little too much pepper on the ball and needs to learn to kind of like fluctuate the speeds of his passes. His ball placement on deep passes and towards the sideline is a bit inconsistent, but he's a dude with some serious traits as an NFL passer. It's just that with the inconsistency over the middle, and the inconsistency with the deep ball and towards the sidelines probably sticks him into that day 3 variety. On to number 9, and it's Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, who's had a very interesting year, a very fruitful year there for Washington. He was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2018 class. He also played center fielder on his baseball team in high school, and also took part in the long jump and the 200 meter in track and field. So he came into Indiana and redshirted his freshman season, and then actually that year suffered a season-ending ACL injury while playing Penn State, because when you're redshirt, you can play up to 4 games. In 2019, he started the first 6 games of the season before suffering another season-ending injury to one of his shoulder joints. And then in 2020, he played in 6 games before suffering another season-ending injury to the ACL. And in 2021, he started in the first 5 games before suffering a separated shoulder that just ended his season. Transferred to Washington, he's looking great. The thing is, we kind of know now, like, okay, Injuries, that's kind of a big concern for him. He's kind of like 5 to 6 games and then done. And that's it from him. That's probably going to be the biggest concern, the biggest thing holding him back from being probably a day 2 prospect in this class. Now, his mechanics do need a bit more fine-tuning, as he relies just too much on his arm rather than hip rotation on throws. His throwing mechanics get kind of wonky when he's on the move, and he just doesn't seem like a guy that can consistently make off-platform throws. Now, his footwork also, basically this is a dude that's, you're viewing him as a total developmental prospect because his footwork does need a bit fine-tuning as well. And in his final year there at Indiana, he just didn't process the field well, and he would linger on his first read just too long, which would result in 2 pick sixes to Riley Moss in the season over back in 2021. Now, he's been so much better this season. He really has. He's cut down the turnover-worthy plays, and he's a guy with a good arm. Like, this guy can spray it all over the field. He can pepper the field wherever he desires. He has some really good deep ball accuracy. He's shown nice touch on passes and good ball placement on passes of 20-plus yards or more. And he throws with anticipation. He throws with precision over the middle and underneath. Like, this guy's at his best when he can sit in the pocket and work inside a structure, but that doesn't mean he can't improvise, because he maneuvers the pocket pretty well and he can extend the play with his feet. Again, kind of a big project at this point. That's why I kind of view him in the mid-day 3 area, but he's having a heck of a year, and we should definitely mention him. On to number 8, we got Jaren Hall at a BYU. The biggest thing with him is going to be age. Now, he is one of the older prospects. He's a former 3-star recruit from the 2016 recruiting class. He went on to on a Mormon mission trip in Sacramento, of all places. Typically, these guys are going out of country. This guy's like, I'm going to Sacramento. I want to be by the beach or something. I don't know, but typically with these BYU guys, they typically serve 2 years on a mission trip before they actually start their collegiate career. So in 2019, he actually played behind Zach Wilson. Then during the COVID season, he redshirted that year. And then he was a starter in 2021. Also played on the baseball team, but decided to focus on football. And this year, he has been so good. So good. Looking at his cons, I wrote during his summer write-up, because height, I was like, height can be an issue, as he shows hesitancy over the middle of the field. There's a lot of double clutches, a lot of late throws. But he's very capable of making those throws. He just needs to get more comfortable doing so. And I really think when we get to the pros, he's improved like leaps and bounds in that area. The other thing with him, age. He's going to be one of the older prospects. He's billed at 6'1", 205. He might be able to put on another 10 pounds, but typically when you're at 25, usually your build is your build. You're not going to get taller. You're not going to get longer. Yeah, you can get bigger and whatnot, but typically that's your build. Whatever your arm strength is, that's typically your arm strength. That's usually the case, unless you're a guy that needs to fine-tune mechanics, because that's something, obviously age really doesn't matter. But when it comes to your physical skill set and your athletic skill set, that's typically that's the guy you're getting at the age of 25. At this point, I think he has high-end backup tools, but not enough to really build a franchise around. This is a guy that plays in a very translatable offense at BYU with many NFL route concepts, and he could really sling the ball. He's got a very smooth throwing motion. Being a former baseball player, you kind of expect that. His arm is capable of accurately throwing the ball at all levels, and that's really shined this year. I still think over the middle, he could be a bit hit or miss, but towards the sideline, you've seen the precision on some of his throws to put it where only his receiver can get it. I like it. He shows good pocket poise, and again, a plus athlete, can really extend plays with his feet. But overall, I think it's one that I'm like borderline day 2 with is his skill set. And on to the next guy on the list, being Hendon Hooker, the other oldest prospect in this class, coming in at number 7 for me. And Hendon Hooker has a very interesting pathway to Tennessee, to where he's blowing it up. He's a Heisman contender this season. Now, dude was a 4-star recruit in the 2017 class. He was also a 3-time all-conference selection in basketball during his high school career. And then he went to Virginia Tech. He redshirted his first season, but he did see some action the following season, but didn't really become the starter until week 6 of 2019. He played in 7 games with 6 starts in 2020, and then he transferred to Tennessee and really didn't become the starter there until week 3. But he sparked this resurgence of Tennessee. He sparked this volunteer offense, and he finished as a Davy O'Brien award finalist. He used the extra year of eligibility from COVID to return for 2022, and has been fantastic. Hasn't thrown a pick on the year. Doesn't mean that he hasn't thrown like dangerous passes, but even then, those are few and far between. Now, this dude's got incredible arm strength. Like he can chuck the ball downfield. Like he just needs a little flick of the wrist, and he can do this while he's got guys hanging off of him. And he can do this and still push it 60 yards down the field. He throws with really good touch on those deep balls, though sometimes they will get away from him and they'll sail a bit. He's got a great build, and he could even put more weight on that build. Like this dude, in terms of being a runner, like he's exceptionally dangerous as a runner, as he had 43 forced missed tackles in 2021. He shows great contact balance and elusiveness. He works well outside of structure, but he's also a guy that works well inside of structure. He's a guy that's shown, like this year, something that we didn't really see last year, that he's willing to sit in the pocket, go through a couple of reads, and then make a throw to all levels of the field. Now, where Hooker struggles is accuracy underneath. It could be a bit wishy-washy. He's typically a one, unless he's throwing deep, he's a one-speed thrower of the football, and it comes out hot. He could definitely take some off those passes underneath, but you do see the zip dip when he goes downfield. He needs to throw with again, and this is where we get into the mechanics of things. Like he throws a lot with just his arm rather than, bringing his hips through and actually getting a nice little rotation on his throw. Now, this is for 2021. He wasn't making necessarily a lot of reads last season. This year, though, a lot of that has changed, and I've liked what I saw. He may have great mobility, but this dude has 17 fumbles throughout, or 34 fumbles, 34 fumbles throughout his career, with 15 coming in 2021. I believe he has 4 this year. He is one of the older prospects, but I think given how dangerous he is as a runner and how more competent he looks inside of structure this year, he's definitely a guy with this super high backup upside that I think could be a legit starter in the NFL if he works on some of the mechanics. Dude just seems to be a great guy as well. That's why I threw him with a 3rd round grade, more so this midday 2. Really liked what I've seen from Hooker this season. Now let's get into the meat of this draft, starting with Will Levis. Notably, I am lower than the whole draft community on Will Levis, and I can't help it. I'll talk about why in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about Will Levis's background, as he was formerly a 3-star recruit from the 2018 class. He also played baseball in high school. He went to Penn State, redshirted his first season, and then he transferred from Penn State in 2021 because most of the time, he couldn't beat Sean Clifford out for the job. I don't know if that's a reflection on the coaching staff or what's going on. Why were they more comfortable with Sean Clifford than a guy with Levis's type of tools? He mainly played that Taysom Hill role there for Penn State, where he had 118 carries through his career for over 530 yards. Now, at Kentucky, he was a first-time starter, looked very impressive, led the Wildcats to 10 victories in 2021. And this year, honestly, like he looked more so like he was a guy that started the year kind of like, there's some dicey throws here and there. He's not really going through progressions. And he kind of started 2022 a bit of the same, though he kind of turned it around in some games. Mainly, like for me, an eye-opening game was the second half of the Ole Miss game, where I was like, this guy, this is what people see. This is the prospect people are in love with. This guy seems legit. Also, side note, this guy's eating habits, like, he's a trendsetter. Let's just say he's a trendsetter with some of the stuff he does eat. Now, but I get why people love Levis. This dude has a big arm. He can make throws from 40 to 50 look relatively easy. The ball just flies out of his hand. He has a very quick throw in motion. The offense for Kentucky back in 2021 was led by Liam Cohen, who is now the Rams offensive coordinator. So he was in a very NFL-style offense with a lot of NFL passing concepts. And a lot of that didn't change under his new offensive coordinator, who was the former quarterbacks coach for the 49ers. So something I noticed was as the season progressed, he started going through his progressions more in 2021. He showed a more natural feel for timing and anticipation. And it's just, he kind of looks like the same prospect from last year. Keep in mind, last week we didn't get to see him because he was in a walking boot. Maybe we see him this week, but the decision making, I would say, hasn't got any better though. Like, there are cases where it's like, his receiver drops balls. I think he's among my top 10 prospects, he has the second highest drop rate from his receivers. But then there's balls he throws right into the chest of the defense that he gets lucky don't become turnovers. Like, he only has three big time throws and 6 turnover worthy plays. Like, his turnover worthy plays double his big time throws, which is not something you want to see in college. In college, the big time throws come a lot easier, and we're not seeing that this year with Levis. The decision making, I think, is something you might just have to live and die with. It really might. This year, I was hoping to see more consistency from him, and that's just hasn't come to fruition just yet. It just hasn't. I still deem him this guy I'm willing to take at the back end of the first round. Maybe when you get to pick 20 and on, like kind of in that Kenny Pickett area. But I don't know, man. There's just something about this guy. I would not touch him inside the top 20 picks. That's just me. That's just me. But yeah, let me know what you think about Will Levis in the comments section below. Let's go ahead and get to my top 5, starting with Anthony Richardson from Florida. This is another guy that could be a candidate to return to Florida, and for many reasons as we'll talk about here. But he was formerly a 5-star recruit from the 2020 class, decided to stay home there in Gainesville, and he was primarily a role player in 2021 before seeing playing time versus LSU because of the injury to then starter Emory Jones, who, spoiler alert, isn't on this list. Now they're in Arizona State. Doing all right. He's doing him. But Richardson has been the full start of this season. If you didn't know, before the season, he had knee surgery, but it looks like it hasn't really affected him much of anything. This guy is easily the best runner in this class. He really is. And he honestly, he's pretty favorable for this system he's playing there under Billy Napier. But when it comes to Richardson, outside of we know what he can do with his feet. It's as a passer, can this be a guy that works inside a structure, that can make plays in the pocket, can go ahead and operate, can he run an offense? And that just doesn't seem to be the case just yet. We've seen bits and pieces, that Tennessee game, I thought he played exceptionally well. But again, he's just hit or miss right now. He has more interceptions than he does TDs. That just seems to be the case. The big time throws are up there, but so are the turnover worthy plays. The dude may have a cannon for an arm. He has a very quick throw in motion, but accuracy has become an issue for him this season. I didn't really think that was the case in the very small sample size we saw in 2021. He was a guy, he goes through progressions, but he just sometimes he sits on routes for too long. He floats backwards in the pocket, and when he is a lot of coming into the year, I would say a lot of the he's inaccurate. It was I feel like he was more late on passes. It was more of a timing issue than an accuracy issue. Because outside of that, I thought he was kind of putting it on the money. And then this year, it's okay, maybe he's a bit inaccurate. So inaccuracy, decision making, can you work inside a structure? Can you even operate an NFL offense at this point? Are big questions. However, with his physical tools, the sky's really the limit with Richardson. That's why you still got to peg this guy with a first round grade. You might not be willing to take him inside the first top 20 picks. But you get to the back end of that first round, it's I don't mind grabbing a guy that maybe your team's in a spot where you have an established quarterback at this point, at this moment, at this juncture. And you're I don't mind sitting Richardson maybe for a season as we kind of put together this excellent piece of mold we have. So again, not positive if he ends up coming out, but the tools are just so tantalizing that I think some team may take a swing on him if he does at the back end of the first round, or maybe trade back up into the first round just to get their hands on him. Now, these next quarterbacks are in their own little tier for me. We're starting with number 4, Tanner McKee. I freaking love Tanner McKee. He is a guy that is leading a very, how you would say, talent depleted Stanford squad. Let's talk a little bit about his background because he's pretty interesting. He was actually the number 3 quarterback in the 2018 class, and that was behind Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. This guy's got a pedigree to him. He just does. Now, he spent 2 years on a Mormon mission in Brazil. He didn't have the luxury to go to Sacramento. He went all the way to Brazil before he actually came to Stanford. And then he sat behind Davis Mills in 2020. And then he was a starter throughout the 2021 season. He was a bit beat up through the season and did miss 2 games because of a leg injury. But for the most part, he played through that crap last year. And I thought he looked good. He led a very young Cardinal team back in 2021 to a big win over Oregon. This cat this season, he's made this team competitive. I know you go back and look at the Oregon game, didn't look that way. But this guy's not putting the ball in harm's way. On the year, Tanner McKee, only 3 turnover-worthy plays to his 11 big-time throws. That's saying a lot for a guy that ain't getting help from his playmakers. His top running back, E.J. Smith, he went down to injury. The offensive line is really meh at best. But this cat's doing a really, really good job, I think. Also, side note, when he was 16, beat skin cancer, by the way. So you see him in the picture here. He's wearing those long sleeves. A lot of that's because, he's a bit more, I don't want to say delicate, but he's got to protect himself from the sun. So talking about McKee, he plays in a very pro style offense under David Shaw there. The pre-snap, there are times he looks like Peyton Manning out there calling adjustments and audibles, just like Omaha, man. I swear, he ain't saying Omaha, but it feels like it when you watch him behind center. He has an ideal frame. He's got an NFL arm. He combines that with better than you'd expect athleticism and pocket poise. He only took 25 sacks back in 2021, which is a real testament if you consider how bad the offensive line's been for Stanford. Real quick, how many sacks has he taken this year? 16, so it's on pace to be a little bit more, but to be fair, Stanford's not that good of a squad. They just really aren't. I think I love this dude's mechanics. I think they're solid. His release is real quick. He displays very good accuracy, good ball placement, and that was even last year before the nagging injury. You could even see that. It kind of dipped a little bit because he was playing hero ball, but it kind of is what it is when you're trying to get a win for your team. That kind of happens, especially if you're a team that's playing with a less talented roster. Now, the sample size is small, though. After this season, we've gotten a whole lot more of it, and he looks like exactly who we thought who he is. I think he's playing really good football, and he's doing this with the team, not the likes of Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or DJ Uiagalelei. Like, this cat is doing it and doing it well. Decision making seems a bit better this year, though there are times he is forced to play hero ball and it could look a little bit ugly. I'm a big fan of Tanner McKee. This cat, I think he could definitely rise to top 10. It's just he's kind of hampered by what's around him there at Stanford. Then on to number 3, I kind of mentioned his name here. Clemson's own DJ Uiagalelei. There we go. Nailed it. Maybe I didn't. I tried. I like to call him DJ Ukulele. Yeah, he's got a lot of cool nicknames. But Uiagalelei, he was a 5-star recruit from the 2020 class. He was the top player in his recruiting class. And as a freshman, he played in 9 games with 2 starts when Trevor Lawrence went down because of injury. And he looked really good in those games against Boston College and Notre Dame, where he threw for almost 800 yards and 4 TDs. And then he started all of 2021 to very, I guess you would say, mixed results. His 2021 was god-awful. This was a guy that wasn't playing with any type of confidence. And the dude was antsy in the pocket. You could see it from his feet. And this year, that has turned around, and he has not looked back since. Like, he looks so much more confident. Like, he is easily ahead on big-time throws, as he has 19 on the year, I believe. Where are you at? There you go. 19 big-time throws to only 3 turnover-worthy plays. This guy's playing really good football in the ACC. Really good. Like, this dude probably has up there, like, I would say comparable at least to Anthony Richardson in terms of who has the biggest arm in this class. I might give it to DJU. Like, and he is capable of most NFL throws, and even the ones that are special, I think he can make. Like, he puts such nice touch on the football along the sidelines. He has good size and a very strong build. And he's just sturdy as a runner. He's tough in the pocket. He's done a better job of setting his feet when he throws the football. He's very mobile as well, and he can pick up yards with his feet. He absorbs contact. He can power through tackles. He does a nice job of selling fakes with his shoulders and his head movement. Like, he's improved leaps and bounds from what we saw in 2021 that I'm legit just gonna say 2021 might just be a mulligan. It might be a case where you just burn the tape. It really might be. Like, even throwing over the middle has been no problem for him this season. And that's the thing. People are gonna look at, like, 2021 be like, what the heck was that? Like, was it just a guy not being a, like, his first year as the guy, just didn't have the confidence? Because like he was very conservative with the football. He just held on to it for far too long. He pressured when he was pressured. Dude panics, forces throws, relied too much on his arm, and didn't see the mechanics. Again, we bring up hip rotation, didn't see a ton of that. His accuracy was all over the place. Dude just never looked comfortable. Like he played with antsy feet. That's not the case this season. Like this guy, like even if he has to get out of dodge, he does a good job of trying to set his feet before he makes the throw. The touch on his passes looks so much better this season. Like this cat is playing lights out football. His adjusted completion percentage is on par with a guy like CJ Stroud, who people are boasting as the top quarterback in this class. Like DJU has come such a long way from last season that don't be surprised if his name gets into the mix of being a top 10 guy. I just kind of want to see it through till the end of the year. Because this was a cat before 2021 we were talking about as the next first overall pick. I'm not saying that's the case right now, but I'm saying don't sleep on him. The dude is legit. And then on to my number 2. This might come be a surprise. It's Bryce Young. It's really 1A, 1B. It really is between him and CJ Stroud. It really is. And part of me knocking him down kind of lies with the shoulder joint. That he went down to injury. And that's kind of going to be the Achilles heel of like, oh, his size. Can he hold up in the NFL? And we'll talk about that in a sec. But he was a former 5-star recruit from the 2020 class. He was a first-year starter in 2021, where he just lit the SEC on fire. He won the Heisman Trophy. He led Alabama to yet another SEC championship championship. And then they lost in the national championship game. Now, working with much less talent this season at Alabama offensively, this is a cat that has strapped the team to his back and consistently has come through. Go back to the Texas game. Oh, they left too much time on the clock, and he comes roaring back. He leads that team that looked just meh the whole game against Texas. He leads them to the game-winning. Was it a tutty, right? I can't. It's been so long now, but you go back to like the 2021 season. He did that against Auburn. Like this cat has consistently, when his number is called, his team needs him, he has come through. I love that. This guy shows so much poise in the pocket, and just you love the mobility. You love how he maneuvers the pocket. It's kind of akin to Patrick Mahomes. That's not a comp. I'm just comparing two things that are similar. He's very light on his feet. He can extend plays with ease. He can make off-platform throws. He keeps his eyes downfield, but he's willing to pick up yards with his feet if he has to. He probably has one of the prettiest deep balls in this class. I would say he throws with a lot of good zip, just with a flick of a wrist. Very good throwing motion, by the way. Attacks the middle of the field better than anyone in this class. It's one of his strengths. He has no problem seeing over his offensive line, because you look at that 6 foot and you're kind of like, okay, can you see over the offensive line? He's like, with ease. This man commands the field. He goes through his progression seamlessly. He constantly makes the right decisions. Yeah, and again, one of the quickest throw motions in this class. But size is this dude's Achilles heel. Like everyone and their mom's talking about his size. Oh, he can't play at that. Like he's only a couple of pounds heavier than Kyler Murray was, and I feel like he's a maybe 194 if he's wet. But like he, for most part, he takes good care of his body. But getting to like a 200, 205 would go a long way for him to at least alleviate from those concerns. And it, you know what didn't help? him going down to the AC joint, the shoulder injury against Arkansas. He had to miss the Texas A&M game. Does he come back against a big game tomorrow against Tennessee? That's honestly going to be the biggest question. Again, you might also kind of nitpick. There are times where he runs hot and cold against top-tier defenses, like he did that in 2021 against Georgia and Auburn. But this year, it's like a lot of that, it's not like, is he running hot or cold? It's like, is the offense able to move the ball? Like, it's like him and Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's it. There's your offense. And he's really had to like find all kinds of different kinds of playmakers this season for Alabama, because he just doesn't have McKee. He doesn't have Jameson Williams. He just doesn't have those guys from last year. And it really shows, but he's playing good football this year. I believe for PFF, he is the, at least when it comes to these top 10 prospects, he's the highest graded passer. He only has 3 turnover-worthy throws, so you love to see it. But number 1, it is CJ Stroud. Again, him and Young are gonna be going back and forth for that one number 1 spot. It's 1A, 1B. But opposed to Young, who has concerns about the size, you don't have that with Stroud. Dude was a former 4-star recruit in 2020. First year as a starter was last year, and he really got better as the year went on. He opened the season with a few rough outings there against Oregon, then against Tulsa of all teams. But then after that game in 2021, he only had 7 turnover-worthy throws, with the big one against Nebraska where like 4 of those came in that game. This season, though, he's been amazing. Though I would say the turnover-worthy throws are still a bit of a concern. They're kind of few and far between, but like typically at least has 1 throw a game where it's like, I don't think he should have made that pass. But for the most part, he is playing really, really good football. Like, this dude has ideal size for the position. He moves well. He has good arm strength. I won't call it elite, but it's pretty good. His ball placement, his touch, his ability to drive the ball downfield, though, is, I would say, all borderline elite. It's just very, very nice. The way this guy can drop the ball into his receivers' bread baskets along the sideline or in the corner of the end zone. It's beautiful. Those are special throws you see him making. He became more willing to dump the ball off on his checkdowns. We do see that as he's going through more progressions this season. Typically not a guy that wants to work outside structure. Doesn't mean that he can't, though. He will if he has to. Really, this cat has been very good this year. Stroud, while he, again, moves well in the pocket, not a real threat in terms of he's going to beat you with his legs. I think he only has 1 game this season where he had positive rushing yards. So again, a guy that's more so wants to play the quarterback position. Like, he's a more of a thrower of the ball than a runner of the ball. But again, a dude that does want to can extend plays with his feet if he needs to. There are times where he gets a bit bouncy in the pocket, a little less so this year than it was last. And more so this year, he's planting his foot and making throws. You just love it. The throw motion is a bit long, though. I will say that. It is a bit elongated and something that needs to be fixed. Not a big issue, though. You know, that's something with coaching you could easily take care of in the NFL. You still see occasionally where he just overthrows his receivers. It's not as blatant as it was last year, but there are those cases. But for all intents and purposes, this guy's a great prospect. He's going number 1, or Bryce Young's going number 1. It's one of those 2 guys. But that's it for the video. Let me know who you think should have been included on here. I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of Grayson McCall and KJ Jefferson in the chat, but that's fine. We all will have different opinions when it comes to these prospects. But go ahead, do the YouTube thing, and until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.